or good morning, depending on where you guys are. I'm really happy that you guys invited me here to speak about my father and his plight, and to speak about the disgrace and embarrassment committed by the Tunisian government every day towards my father. I would like to, before starting, kind of point out that all of these crimes that have been mentioned by the lawyers, Mr. Kileni and the lawyer, Mrs. Ines Harraf, all of these crimes are not only ongoing but also are supported by many countries across the world and many governments. If they're not actively supported, they're definitely supported by their silence, unfortunately. Silence and cooperation with this regime will only embolden it and push it to do and commit even more atrocities. And we will slowly find ourselves looking at a new Syria, a new Germany, a new dictatorship, ruthless and with new roots and new, unfortunately, way harder to stop in the future. I would first like to read a small introduction. I stand before you today not only as the son of Judge Bashir Akremi, but also as a witness to relentless pursuit of justice that has been tragically met with injustice of its own. For 34 years, my father has served and dedicated his life to upholding the principles of the law, only to find himself in prison since February 12th, 2023, or in conditions that reflect everything he stood against. Today, I ask, how can a man whose sole crime was his steadfast commitment to an independent judiciary find himself enduring such a profound and undeserved suffering? I would first like to point out that this coup might feel like it has started on the 25th of July 2021, but I would like to say that its foundation have started even way before that, from 2020 with the suspension of my father from his position as the public prosecutor at the time. Corrupt lobbies, as he would call them, and media intensified this pressure, and he ended up being suspended from his position. My father did the only thing that the judge knows to do, which is to fight back against the suspension, and he went to the Administrative Court of Tunisia. After a year of fighting, the Administrative Court ruled in his favor and decided to implement him in his position as a judge. One day before this decision was announced, the president signs an order which is completely illegal and ridiculous to fire 57 judges. My father's name was on top of that list. This order, if you tell to anyone, hey, the president decided to fire 57 judges, everyone would just laugh at your face. I mean, what do you mean the president decided? I mean, he's a political power and the judges are an independent judiciary unit. This makes no sense. But that's exactly what happened in Tunisia. President Qais Said signed an order and proceeded to fire 57 judges. The Administrative Court of Tunis, even though its power is stronger than president in theory, yet its order was never applied. Same as the African court, which ordered the president to suspend this order of firing 57 judges, yet that never happened. Let me now jump to his arrest. 12th of February 2023, my father was arrested, and the first charge or the first arrest warrant was issued based on an allegation by two police officers, which he previously prosecuted for torture. This was related to the Bardo terrorist attack, a case where he worked with more than 13 countries across the European Union, a case where he worked so professionally and has led to the arrest of all perpetrators and their sponsors, a case that was so well received, and he received many rewards and many. He eventually this case was such a well worked case, a super professional case. Yet these two police officers managed to get him arrested, which basically proves how this whole arrest from the start was politically motivated. I would like to say that the cases against my father currently and the arrest warrants against him have zero evidence. And, it's easy to say that, but I will start by simply talking about the cases. These three cases and these three arrest warrants are as goes. The first case has to do with him failing to report weapons in connection to the assassination of Shukri Bil'aid on the 6th of February 2023. This failure to report weapons, which was in their possession, was in 2016, in a time where my father was no longer responsible for this case, in a time where he was already a public prosecutor, and there was another judge responsible for the case, which basically means that it's not in his responsibility to report anything. It's a responsibility of his new judge. The second case has to do with him failing to prosecute two suspects in relation to the Shukri Blait case. Again, I would like to point out that all of these cases are based on his judicial decisions, and every single judicial decision was approved by the judicial circle, which provides oversight for any judge. Basically, if he's in prison for these decisions, he should also be chilling in prison with 5 or 6 other members of the judicial circle. Yet they're not currently in prison. This entire contradictory line of attack and line of prosecution in Tunisia makes absolutely no sense. You have a decision, an oversight, you have a judicial circle which signs off and monitors your decision so that your decision would not be potentially corrupt or potentially, I guess, wrong. And sometimes you have a wrong judgment. Yet the judicial circle kept signing off on these decisions, and these are its members are high-ranking judges. Yet only Bashir Akremi is the person who's today in jail. Let me keep going. The second case, like I said, is failure to prosecute two suspects. And the reason these suspects were prosecuted is because there is another case against them with the same exact charges, terrorism charges. The case of them killing military officers. So a judge cannot simply prosecute someone for a case where there's another case with the same charge against them with another judge. So he simply referred them to the other judge. It's a completely normal legal procedure. Yet today there's an arrest warrant ongoing against him for this. Makes absolutely no sense. The third and last arrest warrant comes for him not arresting another individual. And again, it's the same idea. This was a judicial decision signed off on by the judicial circle, which not only is it judicial decisions in general by judges are protected by law, so that judges wouldn't be afraid to make their own judgments. That's the whole idea, that's the whole basis of the legal system. Today, my father lies in prison with barely any access to medical treatment. He's suffering immensely under horrible conditions that Mr. Kileni and Mrs. Haraf have spoken about. The conditions of prisoners in Tunisia are way worse than they were during the last 4 years. They have intensified their prosecution. They have intensified their torture. My father, as soon as he was arrested, was unfortunately targeted and tortured, just like Mr. Phiri. He was subjected to torture by the same police he prosecuted years ago for torture, which just speaks to the absolute ridiculousness of it all. You know. Today, he lies in prison for absolute bogus charges. After fighting for 34 years to uphold the independence of the judiciary, there is no one piece of evidence linking him to any terrorist organization. There is nothing that can justify this terrorist treatment. Lawyers have barely any access to him. Medically, after his torture, he did not receive sufficient medical care. All of his plights were ignored. And today, he has been in prison as of today for 1 year and 9 months. Imagine this, you're a judge serving your country 34 years, and you're in prison for 1 year and 9 months without any actual prosecution, without any court order, without any conviction. It makes no sense. The minimum of human decency or even state decency is to wait so that the court actually issues a real judgment. But in his case, 1 year and 9 months, 1 year and 9 months is the same time you would spend for manslaughter. It's the same time a criminal would spend for distributing drugs. It's the same time you would spend for aggravated assault. This is a very serious time to be spending in prison, and let alone a Tunisian prison that sucks the life out of you, makes you sicker, kills you slowly and painfully. This is a horrible situation, and the Tunisian government is responsible for this crime. Not only should we fight against it, but we should speak out against the governments that are supporting the Tunisian government, and speak out against not only for my father, but for all political prisoners who are today countless people, nameless. So many people are even afraid to say that they have been politically imprisoned. Everyone is hoping for some sort of break. The situation in Tunisia is super bad. It's abysmal, and it's only getting worse by the minute. Thank you.